Welcome to another episode on Purpose-Filled Life. This episode and this series are all geared towards moms who are pursuing a passion and still trying to put their faith and family first. My name is Ashley Stratton, and I'm your guest host. And today we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Laura. And can you tell us how to pronounce your last name so I don't slaughter it?
It's hard. It's Solorzano.
Solorzano. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. Got it. And I was just telling her, I don't normally read a bio because I love for the interviewee to tell us their story. But I just feel like Laura's bio is so well done. I just want to go ahead and read it with you first, and then I'm going to ask her to share a little bit more. So Laura is a mother to 7 and the CEO and president of Remarkable Journals, a company built on the foundation of gratitude and finding remarkable. Laura herself battled with an eating disorder for 16 years through 6 of her 7 children, and used the power of gratitude to radically change and save her life. Laura now travels around the nation sharing her story and the immense power found in daily gratitude and finding your remarkable gifts and talents. After recovering from her eating disorder, Laura began working with clients who struggle similarly and emailed them daily pages that were powerful tools in their recovery. Her clients were finding so much success with these tools that Laura's husband sent her pages to the printer, and the first Remarkable Gratitude Journal was born. Laura has found that the power of gratitude is not limited to one struggle, but to all struggles. She also learned that these struggles can become our greatest teachers and mentors. She has turned what was once her greatest pain into her passion, as her company has incorporated gratitude into each of their journals, from grief to gratitude to life. Laura continues to work with clients as well as share her message of hope and change through her Remarkable Journals platform, hoping to spread this message as far and as wide as possible. So that was pretty in-depth, and I wanted to read it because I feel like there were so many points that maybe you would share a little bit more intently, but I just felt like there were so many wonderful points in there. And I was just wondering, can you share with us your eating disorder story and path to healing just a little bit more in depth than what we heard on there?
Absolutely. So it basically started like most of us young girls that grow up that want to do everything perfectly. That was kind of the case for me. And I had lots of gifts and talents, but I was so focused on what I wasn't that it basically created, I created my situation. And I ended up coming up, I had all these lists, right? Like I wanted to be good at this and this and this. And the one thing I felt like I couldn't check off the box was my body. I grew up overweight, always feeling like I just couldn't get that one thing perfect, never focusing on the fact that I, was a really good musician and a really good student and had good friends. I had so much to be happy about. And I really did have a wonderful childhood, but I went to BYU. And while I was at BYU, I was like, okay, now I have to check off that box. And when I go and speak to groups, especially to women, especially, I talk about how you can kind of see through my story where my focus was. All along, my focus was on what I wasn't. And I kind of hated myself into, an eating disorder by trying to lose all the weight that I needed to, but it was never from the right place. It wasn't because I loved myself. It was because I wanted so badly to be someone else instead of celebrating what I was and using those strengths to become healthier, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So I ended up developing an eating disorder while I was at BYU, and it continued for 16 years. So a really long time. And I tried everything. It wasn't for a lack of trying to get better. I went to a lot of therapists. I did a lot of work thinking each baby, I'm going to get through this. And I would conquer it during pregnancy, and then it would always come flooding back because I was never focused on what I was. Fast forward, I found out that I was pregnant with my 6th baby a year after I had had twins. And I was so scared and so overwhelmed. And so I just prayed every day, all day. I had always prayed for this, but this was like very intently that I could overcome this eating disorder. I couldn't be a mom to 6 kids under like the age of 8 and struggle with an eating disorder. And when I had Grace, I call her my saving grace because she was kind of the key to it all. But when I had Grace, I developed a really bad thyroid condition that like put a ton of weight on me really quickly. And one night when I was saying my prayers, I was kind of complaining about how can this happen to me? Like it seems so trivial now, but it was real to me. Like it felt very overwhelming. And just this really sweet moment where I heard like, Laura, this is what you prayed for. It's just not how you thought it would look. And I realized that the Lord had to take away all my tools in order for me to truly hit the bottom where I could look outward of these tools that were never serving me, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
And in that moment, I just realized, oh my gosh, like if nothing's going to work, and I'm trying to be this person over here, then I need to figure out who I am. Who is Lara Solorzano? Who is Lara Campbell? Like, who is this person? And I had remembered President Eyring giving a talk about how he would write how he had seen the hand of the Lord in his life every day. And I thought, okay, well, if nothing else is working and I've tried everything, if he does that every night, I should do that every morning and night. And so, I need all the help I can get, right? So I just started, I had all these little babies, right? I just started, the only thing I decided to do was 5 things I was grateful for in the morning and 5 things I was grateful for at night. And in the beginning, I'll be honest, it was all outward. It was like, I'm grateful for my kids and for my husband and for my parents and for my friends. And it was all outside of me. But I love to go back and look in that very first journal of all those little scribblings, how it transformed over the course of a few months to everything outside of me, to all of a sudden coming internally and talking about how I'm a patient mom and I'm a good friend and I'm a good listener. And all of a sudden, all of these remarkable gifts that I had always had all along started to appear. I added to my nightly prayers that the Lord would show me what those gifts were, right? And those would show up in my journal. And it was just this amazing, amazing transformation that gratitude literally saved my life. I could not have kept going the way that I was going. I would have never made it without the tool of gratitude. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it. It saved my life. And then after that, just working with others to realize that really anything we struggle with, we can cure with tools that help us to just rewire our brain and to see the remarkable gifts and talents the Lord has given us.
Oh my goodness. I love that. I love that. So was there something that you did to keep you in the habit of writing in your gratitude journal? Because I know
Yeah.
that a lot of people, we try to journal, we try to write in our gratitude journals, but we get distracted. And how can we get in that habit so that we can have it to be a life-changing tool?
Yeah. I think for my first piece of advice is if someone's in a really dark place and they think it might be too hard, I would challenge them that it's harder to stay in that dark place. It's harder to stay in that kind of dark world than to write 5 things you're grateful for, right? I promise you, that's so much easier. But for me, I made it a priority that I would wake up a little bit before my kids, even when my kids were like itty bitty and I was getting no sleep, at least I'd get 15 minutes, Now I have my power hour, I call it, where I wake up every morning and it's like non-negotiable, where it's quiet and the house is still. And I have time to do my gratitude journal and to listen and to read my scriptures and have prayer. It's like one of those things I don't ever question if I do it because it is so important for me. I've seen such massive benefits. So I would say anyone, if you even give it 7 days and you do it morning and night, it takes you minutes. But if you made it a non-negotiable in your life, you would see massive change. Even 1 week into it, you would see such a change that if you desire to have something different, then just try that,
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
because of this experience and your passion with gratitude and how it helped transform your life, you actually created your own remarkable journal for people to record their gratitude in, right? Is that
Yeah.
right? Could you tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that and your
Yeah. It's actually kind of a crazy story because I can't take all the credit.
Well, that's the best of
Because
your stories when you have help and there's people involved. So
it's an
love it.
awesome story. It's the best story. But I had Campbell, my 7th, afterwards. And that's when I felt like I couldn't sleep at night. The Lord was like, you have to share this story. And I was like, no, I can't tell people, I'm so broken. And then I did share it. And it was the best thing because I realized all of us struggle with things. And here are all of these friends from college and friends growing up and women everywhere that struggle with similar things. And it just opened my eyes to what a blessing it is to be vulnerable and to share our stories. And by doing that, I was asked to speak a lot. And I ended up getting clients that were like, I know you're not a therapist, but I've been through everything. I've been in treatment facilities in and out. I need something. I was kind of like the last ditch effort, right? And so I would work with these clients and I would give them these pages. I would just email them to them that were the morning tools that I had curated over the years of recovery and the evening tools I had curated for myself that I felt were like the best, hands down, of anything I had tried. And my husband, they would come to me, they'd print them all off and they'd put them in binders and they would love them. And they'd be like, I take this everywhere I go. And my husband was like, you have a gratitude journal, you need to print it. And here I am with 7 young kids and clients, right? And I'm like, that's a good idea, babe, but it's fine. I'll just keep emailing to them. They're fine. And actually one day when I was with a client in my office, there was a knock at the door and there were 500 journals on my front door. So my husband took my pages and sent them to the printer. And like, it ended up happening, long story short, that one of my really good best friends is a really big influencer. She lost her sister. I was like, hey, I have 500 of these. And I gave her one. And a month later, it went like, she shared about it, how I had changed her life, where I had been so focused on just my clients, and her experience. And then many, many others realized, oh my gosh, this applies to everyone,
Right.
So it was just a miracle. It was a blessing. And I hadn't gone into it thinking I wanted another business on top of this, of working with clients, but it just became one of the greatest blessings. So it's been awesome.
So your wonderful husband made it come to pass. You have a man on your team. Yes.
Yeah. He is still an awesome help to me. He is the one who speaks to all the printing facilities and everything and shipping. I mean, he works wonders for me. So I'm super grateful for him.
So if someone wanted to get one of these journals, where would they go to get one?
They can just go to remarkablejournals.com and they can find everything there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So you said you get asked to speak, and you've had people come and ask to speak about your experience and your journey.
Yeah.
Do you normally typically speak about gratitude? What is it that is the message that you feel called to share and that you typically share when you go and speak?
Yeah, it depends on the audience, but I typically will share my story like I did with you, maybe a little bit more in depth. And then I always talk about how, as women specifically, and for our children, finding our remarkable gifts and strengths through the power of gratitude and combining those two superpowers. I am super passionate about teaching it to our children right now. I always tell everyone, teach it to yourself first as a mother, and then teach that to your children. And your children, their example and the ability for them to look for the good in themselves actually helps them to look for the good in others, as it does for us. So I just talk about ways that we can find our remarkable. I usually have a list of 10 that I talk about, and we go through how can we really cultivate and find our remarkable in a world that is filled with comparison and competition, and that it is very possible to find our God-given strengths and to create more strengths that we never thought possible, because we have that power to do that.
Right. So when you say teaching your children, how do you teach your children the power of gratitude and implement it in your home with your kids?
Okay, well, they kind of think I'm a little crazy, but two ways. Every morning after our scriptures, I make each of them say something they're grateful for that day. And my little 5-year-old, if they forget, he's like, you're gratefuls. Like, he's like, you have to remember. He's like my cheerleader for gratitude. But, sometimes they're tired and it's 6 a.m. and they're like, shoes, water, but I don't care. I just like, it's okay. They're thinking of something. And then my now 12-year-old, when the gratitude journal was going so well, she's like, Mom, we need a children's gratitude journal. And she actually helped me to create the children's gratitude we have. And for that, I don't make it a chore. And that's something, nobody needs to have the journal, but I would say having a gratitude practice. Our journal is amazing, but you can even get, if that's something you can't afford right now, get some paper for them and have them write down 3 things they're grateful for, and maybe 2 positive affirmations every day. But don't make it a chore. For my kids, we just have a sticker chart. And once they have filled out their journal like 20 times, they get a special date with me or my husband. With 7 kids, that's something they really want, is like one-on-one time, right? Most kids will want that. And so when I talk to people, I say, like, don't make it another to do because they have enough to do's right now with school and all the other things, but make it something that they can look forward to. And then I've noticed with my kids, they really see a difference, especially now that my teenagers have gone into some of mine are in high school, and the pressures of high school and the anxiety that some of my kids deal with, they have a direct correlation between the days they use their journal and the days they don't. They see a massive difference.
That's incredible. So they expressed that they noticed a difference when they're using
Yeah.
the gratitude?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's actually a funny story, and my daughter lets me tell it, but my 15-year-old had been struggling. We moved here from Arizona a little over a year ago, and it was really challenging. It was the only home we ever knew was in Arizona. And she was really struggling with anxiety. And I would tell her, just try the journal, but I'm the mom,
Right.
She's like, I know. But I found her a wonderful therapist, and we're sitting in her very first session. And the therapist says, and at the end, she goes, and I always recommend that all of my clients purchase this gratitude journal. And she pulls out my journal.
No way.
Yeah. And Liv is like, what? So
She's
that
what my
was
mom
like,
does works.
it was so good. I was like, oh, maybe she will try it now. Sometimes teenagers need to hear it from the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses,
Yep.
So
Yep.
anyway, and now she'll tell me, she's like, I see such a difference when I don't use it. So it's been good.
Incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah.
There is a power that comes with gratitude. And I love that you've created a space with your journal where people can record it and have it like almost a sacred, special place to keep that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank
So
you.
I want to shift gears just a little bit and talk about life balance, because that's the number one question that we always get asked is, how do you do this? And how do you do that? And be a mom and run a business and have 7 kids and a church calling, right? How do we do it? So my first question I have for you in life balance is, are there certain habits that you have to keep you moving forward with your personal and your spiritual and your family goals? Are there certain habits that you can have in your home that keep things a little bit more well balanced?
Yeah. So I would say the number one habit is the habit I told you about, my morning power hour. My word for the year is listen, because I feel very strongly that we as women, if we really listen, then we have the ability to really create change and to really do good things. I think a lot of times, especially as women, we hold ourselves back. And I did this for years because we're trying to do it everyone else's way. And so you watch even other women in this space or other women who have businesses and family, and you kind of want to model after them, thinking, well, they're successful, so I should do it that way. And that will never work. I have learned, like, what will work is if you listen and if you take time to listen. So for me, like I said, my non-negotiables are my morning power hour, where I have that time to listen and be in the scriptures and pray. And then I would just say another thing is just to really decide, what are your top priorities? As a mom, what things are super important that you are there for, and what things might not be as important. For me, there's things like laundry or deep cleaning that I can outsource when I can, because it's more important that I'm at a basketball game or that I'm at something that I really need to be at. And I keep my hours for me. It is work to keep my hours while they're at school. And then when they get home, I'm able to clock out. And that doesn't mean every mom needs to do it that way. It just means that when I listen, that has been what's worked for me. And if you don't mind me sharing really quick, I tried to kind of do it. I went to a lot of trainings and things like that while I was in Arizona, always feeling like what I was learning, I would butt heads against when I would try to implement it. And then I would feel guilty that I was butting heads against it because they say this is the way to do it. Does that make sense? And when I moved to Utah, I felt so strongly to back away from my business. And I was like, back away? Like, how can I do that? But I did. I took like 7 months off of Instagram, and I would just, the orders would be fulfilled as they trickled in, but I was not marketing. I was not doing anything. And during those 7 months, of course, I needed to be with my children who had gone through a massive change. And it also helped me to see that I never need to do it anyone else's way. During that time, it really affirmed to me that if I just listen and I put the Lord first, always, then he'll help me get the message out that I need to get out. And I feel like that's with every single mother, because we do have unique gifts and talents. And maybe your mission is at home. You don't have to have the mission. My mission is at home, but I also can have this business that helps me create a message. But once I kind of put all of my fundamental principles in order, when I did feel very strongly to go back, my business took off faster than it ever has, ever. And really the fundamental change was that I just decided to listen and not do it everyone else's way, and to know that if I had my priorities in order and I put God first, everything else just kind of fills in the gaps the way it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shout hallelujah from the rooftops as you were speaking, because
Right.
yes, 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 yes. I feel like there is a huge difference for women and mothers who are pursuing their passions, and especially faith-filled Latter-day Saint women as well,
Yeah.
because there's so many things out there where you can go get trainings and listen to good
Mhm.
advice and pursue this certain path of XYZ that's going to make you a successful business person.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like you said, when we just sit and listen, God might have a different path for us,
Yeah.
which ultimately, if we listen to him, I truly believe it will be the best path, right?
Yeah.
And that's, testify to that. It would have made sense for you to follow all the business plans that you learned and got trained from, but the
Yeah.
Spirit took you down a different path where your children needed you.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's one of the biggest messages that I feel called to share, is that is having that heavenly connection when we're
Yeah.
pursuing our businesses and our goals, because it truly can make all the difference along the path in making sure our family doesn't get left behind and that our faith doesn't get left behind,
Yeah. Yeah.
making sure that all those pieces stay into play is listening to that spirit and following through with those promptings. I think
Yeah.
so huge. So
Yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that. So one thing that I am asking every single mom that I interview on this podcast is, do you feel like you're able to put your faith and family first and still pursue your goals and your dreams?
Absolutely. I feel like I wouldn't be doing that without putting my faith and family first. I think that's what I've learned, is that when those things go first, that's when I truly achieve my dreams and goals. My dreams and goals aren't just wrapped up in a business. My
Right.
dreams and goals include my family. And I feel really strongly like, as I have put the Lord first, and like I said, done it this way where I listen, that my family is growing with me. My family is learning as I learn. I've had a lot of failures too over the last year, a lot of things that didn't work, but they've all felt like that, like it's a way to learn. Like I'm just failing forward. Like it's all seemed very just like this natural progression towards us all learning and growing as a family, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So I feel like when we try to do it the world's way, we will be alone. That's what I feel like. We will feel very alone, whether we're making a lot of money or not. But when we do it the Lord's way and we partner with him, then we are never alone. We have him, and then we have our family, because we've put it in the right perspective and lined it up the right way. That makes sense.
Right. One of my favorite quotes, and I'm just going to say this in a nutshell because I might slaughter it, but is from Ezra Taft Benson. And he says, if you put the Lord first, everything will either drop out of your life or
Yeah.
fall into place.
Yes, I
So,
love that.
yes. And so it's so true. Like when you're putting him first, things will either fall together or they'll fall out.
Yeah.
And which feels so relieving as a mother,
Yeah,
when
it
you have
does.
so many busy things on your plate. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't think about how the Lord can actually take things away, that
Yeah.
are too heavy to deal with.
Yeah. And it feels so good to have him take care of that for us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. So you talked a little bit about how you've had failures and challenges, and in that
Yeah.
little mini sentence, I didn't miss that. Is there a challenge that stands out in your mind, that you feel comfortable sharing, that you feel like you've overcome? Because I know that a lot of women that listen to podcasts, and a lot of people talk about like ways to do things, but we know that the journey's not always perfect, right? And a lot
Yeah.
of people don't relate to perfection. They relate to the challenge and how to overcome that. Is there a
Yeah.
challenge you've been through that you would feel comfortable sharing with us that you've overcome?
Yeah. I mean, I'm an absolute open book. I mean, I mentioned a lot that I tried to do it a lot of other ways. Those were a lot of failures, like just trying to do this ABC, how they train you. But more specifically, like in the past year, we tried to like hire somebody, and hiring can be very challenging and difficult. And going through that process and then being kind of taken advantage of, at first felt like, I had prayed about this. I had gone to the temple. I felt like this was the right person. And at first I thought, well, did I get all the wrong answers when I hired this person? Like, how could this be happening? And then later as I prayed about it, I felt very strongly that this was a gift to me because I learned what not to do.
Right.
I learned that from now on, specifically, I will always contract work until we know that we're a good fit. And I will never just hire someone in a position where they haven't already shown me what they can do previously to hiring like a salary-based position, if that makes sense. That was a specific one where I thought, I look back on it and I'm so grateful. I learned a lot without losing a ton, maybe losing some pride, but like,
Yes, yes.
I lost some money and I lost some pride, but I really learned a lot through that process about moving forward, how I will be hiring and growing in my business. So I thought it was a blessing. Yeah.
It's almost like Elder Holland's road story, where
Yes.
the father and the son pray about what road to go down. They both feel strongly it's this one road when they're lost.
Yeah.
And they go down the road and they get down it, and it was the wrong road. So they had to come back, and eventually they got out on the right road. And Elder Holland's like, why did we feel like we're supposed to go down that road? And the father said, we went down that road so we'd know with a surety when we were on the right one that we were
I
on the
love
right.
it.
And
That's
didn't
so
question
true.
it, start turning around and waste time. And
Yeah.
so that story sounds similar. You didn't get too far gone before, before things really fell apart. And Heavenly Father
Yeah.
help direct your path in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's always there to guide us. I think we really do second guess ourselves as mothers and as women. And we have such a gift in business, and that gift that's different than men, not to compare us, but is intuition. So if we really trust our intuition and we move forward and we take action, we will learn, whether that ends up being a positive thing or we learn from it and we think, oh, we won't do that again. But if we just trust our intuition, either way, it's not failing, it's just learning. That's just how I've decided to look at it.
Right. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with that more. So
Yeah.
you've had quite a journey, and you've been through a lot with your 7 kids and everything you've shared with us. Looking back, is there anything that you think, I wish I would have done that a little bit differently?
No. I mean, yes, there's been times in my life, obviously, where I've thought, oh man, Laura, you could have learned that maybe the first 10 times. But I don't know. I guess maybe as you get older, and I'm 43, and I think I wouldn't trade anything for the world, because I just look at it all as this opportunity. I feel like I am in the place, I am becoming like him because I've made so many mistakes, and that's the ultimate goal, right? So I don't really regret a single thing. I mean, I sit down and talk to like some young moms that are just starting their business. And obviously I'll give them advice for maybe mistakes that I've made. But then I look at it like I can give them that advice because I've been there. So that's a gift. So I don't know. I never really think there's anything I would change.
Absolutely. I love that. Everything that you've been through is a learning experience or a gift to someone else to be able to help along in the path.
Yeah. And people have done that for me too. I feel grateful that people ahead of me I've really found beautiful people who will share that with me too, that have given me that gift. So
I love it. It makes such a huge difference to have those people that are along the path and like, look, I've taken this path and this didn't work. So I'm going to show you a shortcut,
Yeah.
It makes such a big difference. So I have 2 more questions for you. What one piece of advice would you give to another mother who is going after her dreams?
Oh, I feel like a broken record, but I would just tell them to not doubt their intuition and just to listen and to always put the Lord first. That is number one. Always put the Lord first, and to not second guess that the Lord is asking some of us mothers to maybe do something outside, like maybe to push outside this boundary of, I'm not saying everyone needs to be doing a business, but don't be scared if the Lord asks you to maybe share something, or you feel called to do something that seems too big for you, to just trust that if you feel that calling, that he will help you if you put him first, that he'll always help you to do that. I was so scared to talk about my story and to start down this path. And it became one of the greatest gifts for me, not just for other people, but for me. So I feel like if we really listen and then we trust that he'll help us through it, it's okay to move forward, and it will be a blessing to your family as well.
Right. I love that. I love that. And I love that you said too, don't be afraid to do it, because a lot of times when we feel called to do something, or we feel like we have a business to start that will help other people, it feels really scary.
Yeah.
And those fears are what can hold us back. So it's almost like recognizing, yes, there is going to be fear, and partnering with God to be able to do what you feel called to do is the key.
Yeah. And fear, it just means you're on the right path too. It
Yes,
just means you're in the right exact place. So just jump in, you
yes,
know?
I totally agree. Well, where can people connect with you if they want to stay connected with you, and where can they find you on social media?
Yeah. So I'm basically the same all across the board as at Remarkable Journals on Instagram, Remarkable Journals online. On Facebook, you can DM me, you can email me, Laura at remarkablejournals.com also. So,
Oh, great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today. I really
yeah.
appreciate you taking the time to share with us. You have so much goodness in you, and you've given respect to so many wonderful people and helped change their lives through the power of gratitude. And we really appreciate you sharing your message with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley.
Thank you.